Okay, sorry for the bell, but we're going to start Unit 3, which is going to deal with soil science. And learning target 1 through 3 is what we'll focus on today, which deals with soil formation. We'll talk about some vocab terms that go with this, and then you'll have a form to complete, which will count as your exit ticket or exit slip or whatever you would like to call it. So, soil formation. First vocab term we'll talk about is transported soil. So these are soils that have been moved by a natural process. Okay, and in there you have a bulleted list of some examples of a natural process. Glacial ice, have as the ice melted or was formed, it moves the ground, moves the soil, changes the landscape. Wind is still happening today. High winds can transport soil. It's also a source of erosion. We'll talk about, of course, water does this as well. Organic deposits and volcanic deposits, as well as gravity. So those are just some examples of natural processes which transport soil. Okay, so some factors involved in soil formation. So the original source of most soils is bedrock, which is broken down into smaller particles until it becomes the soil. That process is known as soil genesis. Okay, so bedrock is going to be the parent material of most soils in the natural world. So there's three different types of bedrock, and this isn't a geology class, but it is interesting to know. You have igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. And each of those types are formed differently, and they also contribute different characteristics to the type of soils that they make. So again, the parent material is typically bedrock that is broken down by some process that we'll talk about in a little bit to form soil. So another interesting, or not another important vocab term is topography. And this refers to the slope characteristics of soil or a land structure. So it includes a degree of steepness, length, shape, and direction of a slope. And this is important to know when we talk about transportation of soil, runoff. We also talk about erosion. The more and different types of methods that are required to farm that certain area or grow things in that certain area. So it's important to be able to read topography maps. It's important to be able to distinguish where's a slope, where's a high point, where's a low point, and different types of land structures without physically being there. So another factor that involves or that influences soil formation is the organisms that live in the soil. So the soil is an ecosystem itself. You have plants, you have insects, you have microorganisms, you have larger animals. Like you have some mammals there as well that all live in the soil and they all contribute to the formation of the soil. So the plants that grow there is known as native vegetation, and their root systems is what really contributes to the formation of the soil and continues to keep that soil aerated and the probably the basis of that soil ecosystem. So one of the biggest factors involved in soil formation is time. Okay, soil is a renewable resource, but it doesn't happen very quickly. It takes a long time for this to happen. One process, one of the more common processes for soil formation is weathering. So weathering is the physical or chemical breakdown of rock or parent material into soil substances. And this is a long process. It'll take parent rock, break it down into smaller rocks, and then smaller rocks into gravel, into sand, into silt and clay, and so on and so forth. So this is a very long process. And again, it's done physically and chemically. So weathering will cause soil to mature, and this means that soil is at peak productivity with a high amount of organic matter. So when we talk about mature soil, we're talking about soil that is um, containing a lot of organic matter, which is needed to grow plants, crops, any type of vegetation, which is also again, sorry for the bell, which is also the basis of that ecosystem in the soil. Now, there's different ways that those nutrients can be lost. Water begins leaching away those nutrients through erosion or just pulling them through the ground into the underground water table. As plants grow, they use those nutrients. So those nutrients have to be replenished, and this does happen naturally, but again, it's a slow process. Aging happens faster in warm and humid climates. What we mean by aging um, is soil losing those nutrients, plants growing to use up those nutrients. As the more warm and humid the climates are, the longer the growing season is going to be, and the less downtime, so to speak, that the particular soils have. So what does climate refer to? We've talked about climate before, especially if you've had biology. Just a reminder, it's the weather patterns in a certain area. Okay, so it could be how much rainfall, how much sunlight, the average temperature, growing seasons, all those things. Okay, so they are either directly or indirectly responsible for the breakdown of rocks and minerals and the release of plant nutrients and many other processes affecting the development of soils. And that goes back to weathering. So certain climates will do the process of weathering better and faster than others. If you have an area that has a lot of rain or a lot of wind, then weathering is going to happen faster than somewhere that is dry or does not have a lot of wind. Anything that's not causing friction on parent material. So humans also can contribute and do contribute to soil formation. We speed things up, and sometimes that's a positive way, and sometimes that's a negative thing. So as humans do more activity in a certain land mass, we cause more friction, which can cause more breakdown of parent material. But at the same time, this can also loosen the topsoil, which will increase erosion. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part of this unit. So humans can do some good things and bad things. We're getting smarter using certain types of methods and techniques to help soil conservation. We'll talk about those as well. And so that is the end of Learning Targets 1 through 3. So be sure you complete the video form that goes with this, and we will see you tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions.